Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad y'all could make it tonight. I'm losing my mind. It's a Tuesday. A Tuesday. Can you believe it? I'm here on a Tuesday. I'd like to say hello to Colonel Angus, first and foremost. Long time no see, sir. Hopefully you can make it to game night this coming up Saturday. I will send you the link. You know I will. Carl is here and John is here as well, along with a couple of lurkers. Good evening, Legal Fiction. Legal Fiction. I have I brought a different bottle of alcohol in here, is what I'm trying to say. It is the Saint Elder Espresso. The Saint Elder Espresso liqueur. I know you always like to know, but first and foremost, Carla, member for 6 months. Thank you so much. Let's give these dogs a bone. Knick-knack, paddywhack style. They're certainly happy to have extra milk bones on a Tuesday. So I saw this story, and I know we have covered squatters on my channel before, and y'all seem to like it. So I saw this squatter story, and I felt like I needed to cover it. Thank you very much, Carla, member for 6 months. Bam. Bam. Saturday is big football day. When is football over? What time is football Saturday, Colonel Angus? It can't be the whole time, right? There's no way it could be the whole time. Yes, I am telling you, you can pet those dogs. You can definitely pet the dogs. I am on the wrong. See, I have the pet the dogs sounder in the booze and body cams file, so I have to get to it.
Article 4, free inhabitant pursuant to the Articles of Confederation. You can look it up. It's in the United States.
That was the wrong one.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No, he's
Can I
sleeping.
pet that dog?
Oh, yes, of course you can pet that dog. Cheers, Legal Fiction. That is dangerous. It is so delicious. The Saint Elder Espresso Coffee Liqueur. So dangerous. So it is 2 days before Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. So glad to have you here. Tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m., we're doing a big mega Christmas Eve stream, and that will be on my channel. I'm going to be here. So it's a group of people doing it from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So from 10 a.m. to noon, I will be here, and then there'll be booze and body cams for the last 2 hours from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So definitely tune in for that. We will direct you around to the different channels. We want to make sure that anybody who's not doing anything on a Christmas Eve has something to do. Come hang out with us. We have lots of great people in the chat. You can hang out. You can visit. We're going to be talking all things Christmas. It will be a lot of fun. Let's get into this story about this squatter, shall we? We shall. I gotta take my contact lens out. I always forget to do that before we start. They're the kind that you change out every day, in case you're wondering why I throw out my contact lens every time we stream. I have a new one to put in tomorrow. So this is out of Washington, D.C. Squatter uses extended Airbnb stay to claim tenant's right, locking out the homeowner. A local homeowner who said she's in the fight of her life trying to get a squatter out of her house has spoken exclusively to 7 News. The alleged squatter, Shadija Romero, originally got into the house through Airbnb, claiming her home had been damaged in a fire and she needed somewhere to stay while it was being repaired, which was back in February. This is just concluding right now. We're talking about February. 7 News found court records showing At the time she booked the Airbnb, Romero was in the process of being evicted from her apartment for owing nearly $50,000 in back rent. Roshanne Douglas said she didn't know she was opening her life up to a nightmare when she accepted Romero's Airbnb reservation almost 10 months ago. This was written a couple months back, by the way. The reservation ended on March 29th after 32 days. After being a guest for 30 days, Romero started to claim residency in the home and is claiming forms of tenants' rights and refuses to let Roshanne enter the property. I never gave her any tenancy, said Douglas. I never gave her a lease. Douglas tried everything. She gave her a 30-day notice to vacate, called the police, went to court, and even offered Romero $2,500 to sign a piece of paper admitting that she is not a tenant and to get out. Romero signed the documents, took the money, but did not budge. November 15 came, and she told me this no longer works for me, said Douglas. Do what you have to do. I'm not leaving. I went to the police with my order and they said there's nothing they can do, that I need to go to court, which I've done. And I do not have a court date until December 11th. Douglas put a sign up on the top of the home so police and neighbors would know Romero was not authorized to be there. Romero and the people inside threw a sheet out the window to cover it. 7 News was there when police helped Roshanne. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name, ma'am. If you're reading this, I truly apologize. I'm not doing that on purpose. 7 News was there when police helped I'm going to say Roshanne cut it down while Romero was inside. It's just shocking to me that you would abuse the system like that, said Douglas. With all that is going on, Romero's social media shows her living her best life on trips, promoting her nonprofit, and Roshanne is left paying thousands of dollars in attorney's fees, the mortgage, utilities for the home she can't even enter. I think I saw some colors pop up, and I did. Doc, member for 7 months, not a criminal. Thank you so much. Mega Stream will be awesome. I just promoted the Mega Stream starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can catch that on Doc's channel, on my channel. It's going to be everywhere. You're good. It's going to be difficult to miss it, is what I'm saying. So I will be here, like I said, from 10 to noon. Probably a couple of times I'll pop in and out in between, and then definitely for Booze and Body Cams tomorrow night from 8 to 10. Yeah, exactly. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. Unfortunately, that is not how it works in the system that we currently have, especially in Washington, D.C.
6 and only on 7 News. We are now hearing from the woman accused of taking over an Airbnb in Northeast D.C. The homeowner reached out to 7 on Your Side for help after that woman refused to leave. Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley is now live outside the home. Felicia, you have a lot of updates on this case.
A lot, and it all happened as we were out here working on this story. First, you can see the homeowner was able to board up the home, but the guest was able to
By the way, this Felicia Ashley, a woman that works for 7 News in Washington, D.C., did such a great job with this. So good. Such good journalism, such good reporting. Props to her.
Back in. In addition to that, though, I was able to speak with the person the homeowner is accusing of squatting in her home. She stopped us as we were outside doing the story and invited us in.
The police allowed her to hire a locksmith and break in. She gave them no documents. She gave them no court orders. She gave them no lease. She just came and said, I'm locked out. This is taking me somewhere where I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to stay on the right, but for somebody to just take and do, everybody has a breaking point.
I went back to the property today.
This homeowner's like, Look, I'm not trying to go to jail for kicking some ass, but she's driving me to the point where I want to kick some ass. I get it. I totally get it.
Saw child services show up because Shadija brought her daughter into the home while there was no power or electricity inside. Police also showed up because the homeowner's truck went missing after Shadija got back in the house. And when Shadija cracked the door open to get a package, I saw what appears to be a candles and essential oils business inside.
This is unbelievable.
That led to a virtual emergency hearing today. In court, it was revealed that Shadija tried to push Roshane off a ladder, took the utilities out of the homeowner's name and put it in her daughter's name, tampered with cameras, requested that Roshane pay her back for the food lost when the power was turned off. Oh, and she asked the judge if she could question Roshane as a hostile witness. I was with Roshane as she attended the hearing from her car outside the home.
And the sad part is, I feel sorry for her. I really do. But your problem is, I can't help you. But I do truly feel sorry for her and her child and all of this. And I have a big heart, and this is the outcome of me having a big heart. But I really hope somebody can help her, but you can't do it at my expense. I don't have it.
Ace says it's crazy how squatters have more rights than the owner of the house. If Shadija tried this stunt in Florida, the owner would no longer need an eviction notice. The police can now remove the squatter. That's amazing. Ed over there on Rumble. By the way, y'all go over, check out Rumble. If you want a Rumble rant over there, they only take 20% instead of 30. Just saying. I'm glad the dogs have been returned safe and sound. Yes, the dogs are back. I told you they just had a PTO day. Let me give them a treat just to show you they're here and alive. They are here and alive. Are you hearing this? She tried when she was putting up that sign. The Shadija tried to knock her off the ladder. When she took back over her house after she had the locks changed, and the homeowner had a vehicle in the driveway, and this woman had her car towed, had the homeowner's car towed from her own property, which, as we all know, cost hundreds of dollars when you have your car towed. It doesn't matter if it was a rightful towing or an incorrect towing. It's still going to cost you several $100s, if not thousands of dollars, to get your car out of the impound lot. The judges that allow this to happen are going to bring back vigilantism in a big way. This woman waited a year to get her crap. Some would pay a person on the street to delete her within a day. Disavow, but true.
Give me some release. I'm gonna lose my property because I can't pay $4,000 a month, and my other bills and my responsibility like this. And there's no recourse for me.
Just moments ago, as we were working on this live shot and this report, Shadija came up to our car and said that we could finally speak to her. This is what she had to say, or part of what she had to say during our 15-minute conversation.
She said that we didn't have a lease, which we do not have a lease in place, but we did have an agreement for me to stay at the property beyond the initial Airbnb time frame. So she has been back to the property almost every day. They installed signs.
Now, coming up what happened today is that there was an emergency hearing because of everything that unfolded. In that hearing, the judge did tell Roshane she has to turn back on the electricity. Now, there is another hearing next week where the judge will decide whether Shadija can stay or if she has to go. Now, reporting live from Northeast DC, Felicia Ashley.
So where we're at now, I mean, not now, but when we were at this news story, is that homeowner turns off the electricity because she's not only paying the mortgage, she's paying all of the bills. It was an Airbnb. So the water, the electricity, all of that stuff is being paid for by the homeowner. So she's like, well, she's not going to let me in my house. I'm not paying her electricity bill anymore. Turns off the electricity, and the squatter, Shadija, takes her to court and gets the judge to make the homeowner turn back on the electricity. How? Yeah. Un-effing real. Exactly. Un-effing real. For real. It just pisses me off. And now you did see a little snippet of a interview that this news reporter, this journalist did with the squatter. I have the whole thing. It's 45 minutes long. We're gonna watch it here tonight because it came out in parts. I wanna see the whole thing together. We're watching the whole unedited interview with this crazy woman who's literally stealing a house. But first, let's watch the interview with the homeowner, and then we'll get to the other interview.
I've owned the home since 2019.
2019.
Yes.
This is your home right behind us.
Yes.
And you're not allowed to go inside.
I cannot go inside. Even if I bring the police, she can deny me access to the property.
By the way, this is crazy because anywhere that you're renting, let me know in the chat. I need to pull the chat up so I can do polls in the chat. If you've ever rented a place that you live in, I think most of us have. We didn't go straight from living with our parents to purchasing our own home. The landlord, whoever it may be, can give you notice and then you have to let them in. And usually it's 24 or 48 hours notice. Once you give the tenant notice, you're allowed to go in. But this person is not letting her in her own home, which is crazy.
Property.
And why is that?
Because she was an Airbnb guest and she asked me, she came in originally as an Airbnb guest and she said that she had a fire in her previous apartment and that she was waiting for renovation. So she originally booked for 30 nights and she said she just was coming out of a hotel situation and just wanted a home for her and her daughter and a small dog. Okay, fine. Then as the reservation continued, she kept asking to extend the reservation because her home was not ready because of the fire, which made sense to me because, you know, I know how long insurance things can happen. And then in August, I asked her, you know, when are you leaving? And she said at the very latest September because she was buying a property and she began to stop paying. And so I began to tell her, you must leave. I gave her a nightly rate of $100 per night. I never gave her any tenancy. I never gave her a lease. This was never supposed to be a long-term thing. And she started not paying on time. And I continued to tell her, you have to leave, you have to leave. After September, she's giving me no money.
By the way, $100 a night for a several bedroom house at Airbnb is a great deal in the Washington, D.C. area. Extremely good deal. You can't get a hotel room for $100 a night, and she's getting a whole ass house for $100 a night.
She tried to put the utilities in her own name. She took me to court to try to put a restraining order to block me from access from the property. And we ended up going to court and she entered into a legal agreement agreeing to vacate the property by November the 15th. After talking to a lawyer, they explained to me that she could try to get tenant rights in DC. So to offer her some relocation money, which I did, to offer her to leave. She signed it. We went to court. It's in the court record. And November the 15th came and she told me, this no longer works for me. Do what you have to do. I'm not leaving. I went to the police with my order and they said there's nothing that they can do, that I need to go to court, which I've done. And I do not have a court date until December the 11th. In the meantime, I see her taking out my property out of the house. She will not allow me access to the house. I've put this sign up because she's constantly lying to the police and she tried to have my car towed. She's called in false reports on me. She called the police and told them I stole her car when her car was legally ticketed and towed by Department of Public Works in DC. And I can't get into my property.
What has this been like for you to look at your home, you can't go inside, and you can't get the person in there out?
I just put the bottle of alcohol away. I guess I'm going to have to get it back out. Legal Fiction for 10 gifted memberships. Merry Christmas to the people who received a gift from Legal Fiction of a free KDZ membership. You know what that means. You get videos early, which I just had one come out today. Members got it yesterday, though. And you get to come to game night, which is going to be on Saturday. We're going to be playing. Oh, I filled it full again. I guess the first two are full tonight. I have to make up for Kfar not being here. Maybe I should I take full shots the whole time? Maybe I'll pull the chat in a second. Cheers, Legal Fiction, and cheers to everybody who is a member or just received a membership. Cheers. The coffee liqueur with the coffee chaser A++. Good planning on my part. Thank you very much, Legal Fiction. Yeah, this story was just so crazy. I had to talk about it. I absolutely had to talk about it.
Stranger.
It's infuriating. I have a $4,000 a month mortgage. All the utilities are in my name. All of the responsibilities are on me, and I can't get into my property. There's a leak in the property. The water bill is escalating. I can't get in there to see what's going on, and I'm the only one responsible for the home, and I can't get any help. I went to court to try to get an expedited order because she's threatened me. She's made fictitious calls to the police over 15 times, and I still can't get any help.
What? I know you mentioned you went to the court multiple times. You have multiple orders. What are those orders for? What are those orders supposed to do? You mentioned you even had U.S. Marshals come. So when the U.S. Marshals came to remove her from the property, what happened?
The U.S. Marshals have not come. It's
Okay.
the police, and they're saying I need the marshals to do it. I have an attorney who filed an order to try to enforce the contract that she agreed that she's not a tenant. She's an Airbnb guest. She never was a tenant or has no lease on the property, and we don't have a court date. So until I get a court date, I can't get the marshals to get her out. And even then, the lawyer informed me that they may or may not enforce the contract.
And why is that?
Because DC tenant laws allow tenants to stay. She stayed previously, I found out recently, at her previous apartment for 13 months and only paid 1 month of rent. And this is a chronic thing throughout Washington, D.C.
13 months at her last place. 13 months, paid 1 month's worth of rent. And now because she connected with this woman through Airbnb, there is no background check. There's no reference check. She had no idea. If she was renting out a place long term, you know that there would be a background check. Like 94% of you in the chat have been a tenant before. You know, you have to write down all your information. They call your previous landlord. They call your job to make sure you have an income. They do all of those steps. This woman had no access to that because it was through Airbnb. Thank you very much, Pizza King, for renewing your membership or becoming a member. I appreciate it. Zena, look at how excited Zena looks. She's very excited to have a renewal of your membership. Thank you very much. There you go, sweet baby girl. And Miss Ava, that one's for you. I appreciate that.
So they have tenant rights, and I think that she knows that. So she's trying to force me into a tenant relationship with her, a landlord-tenant. And I clearly have told her, I am not a tenant. You're not a tenant. I'm not a landlord. I have no interest in doing that because I'm familiar with these kind of things in D.C.
How does she go from being an Airbnb guest, a visitor, to a tenant now in your home?
If you stay anywhere for over 31 days, you can claim tenancy, is what I'm understanding. Even though
you notice that she booked the original Airbnb for 32 days. 32. If you own an Airbnb, if anybody in the chat owns a property that you're planning on renting out, a room that you're planning on renting out short term, look up the laws in your area, because apparently in DC it's 31 days and this person booked it for 32.
She said she's not a tenant. I have proof that she came in through Airbnb and she signed a document within the court record.
Oh, how has this impacted you? So right now, this is your home.
Yes.
You're paying $4,000 a month in mortgage,
Yes.
plus taxes, plus utilities, and you're not allowed to step inside.
I cannot step inside. She blocks the cameras. The police have told her not to tamper with the equipment. She does it anyway. She has no respect for law enforcement. We had the police out here the other day about the cameras. They literally were on the front of the house and told her, do not touch the cameras, and she went to the back and did the same thing.
You told me you learned more about her after this ordeal started. For example, her history with apartments in the past. You mentioned while she was telling you she had no money, she was going to Bad Bunny concerts and flying across the country.
Yes.
What has she communicated with you during that time?
She kept telling me that she had an aunt that passed away. I've since learned that was not true. And she has these nonprofit organizations, and she kept telling me that she's trying to pay, she's going to get this money and she's going to get that money, and she never got it. But
all right, you guys, clip this. Clip what I'm about to say next. If a person who runs a nonprofit is untrustworthy, do not donate a single penny to that nonprofit. If the nonprofit owner, the nonprofit director, the nonprofit president is an untrustworthy criminal person, do not give them money.
At the same time, when she was telling me these hardships about her aunt dying and her job situation and her fire, I come to learn that she was evicted from that apartment one day before she booked my Airbnb for under the auspice of a fire. So she never had a fire in her apartment. She actually had faced eviction. So she came in under that pretense that she had been in a fire, but she wasn't.
What was
If
that like?
a nonprofit, a person who owns a nonprofit, is a liar, a proven liar, as in this case, do not give them any money. Assume that every penny that you give them, every dollar that you give them, is going into their own pockets. And in this case, they're not paying their rent with it.
For you to learn, what was it like the moment you learned you were stuck?
I don't even know how to feel because I really was trying to help her. She had a young daughter. I understand if someone was in a hardship like a fire, how much that could be. I even thought maybe I could give her some clothes or do something to help because you have to rebuild your life after that. It's just, it's shocking to me that you would abuse a system like that. And I'm a very giving person. I would have helped her. And I tried to help her by extending because I never wanted to be a tenant in DC because of this. I would have never rented to her had I known that this is what I was going to get myself into and what I'm going to have to ensue to get her out. I've already spent $3,000 in legal fees because we've already been to court one time before when she tried to put the utilities in her name.
Your next court date is when again, you said?
December 11th.
What are you hoping for on December 11th?
On December 11th, I'm hoping the judge will see her history, will see that she signed a legal document willingly and that she is trying to manipulate and abuse the system. And I hope that he sees it my way so that I can get her out of my home and be able to sell my home. So because I can't afford to pay $4,000 a month in utilities for her to live for free.
What's your biggest fear right now?
That she's going to damage my home because I have no recourse. She doesn't have any money. She has a $50,000 judgment from her previous thing. Even if I put a judgment on her, how will I get the money back? She doesn't work.
Isn't that about a bitch? When somebody's done you wrong and they own nothing, they have nothing. So even if you win a judgment against them, the piece of paper that says you have a judgment against them does you absolutely no good. And you're still paying the lawyers to get that piece of paper. That's exactly the situation that this lady's in at 100%.
The time, I don't have any recourse. There's over $20,000 worth of furniture in there because it was a fully furnished Airbnb. Not to mention the home was renovated prior to, and then the loss of money just ongoing that I can't recover. And I don't know that won't put me in a serious hardship that I can't recover from just from me trying to help her.
When you look at this home now, was it first a family home, do you mind me asking, or you bought it?
No,
as
I bought it from a friend. Okay. I bought it from a friend as an investment. I've done investments in the past, so I bought it from a friend, and I wanted to be able to offer it to someone because it was a nice home, and Airbnb seemed like a good thing to do, and it kind of mitigated the tenant-landlord thing that I knew that I didn't want to be a part of.
To know that you bought this home with hopes of it being a light in your life, an investment in your life, and to see what it's become now. I mean, you have a red sign up with a sheet hanging down on this home that she put. She put
because she doesn't want anyone to know who she really is. She has a fictitious nonprofit organization. She promotes herself as helping the community, but yet and still you would sit in someone's house like this with no money, no attempt to do anything, no attempt to pay, and just basically abuse laws.
Yeah.
How can you live like that? How can you live like that? I don't know what to do. I really want to walk away, but I can't because it's all on me. It's my credit at risk. I'm the one with the mortgage on the property. I'm the responsible party, and I don't understand why the laws are not swayed towards the person who's paying to have the property. How could this be? It doesn't make any sense. And I'll be bled dry. The lawyer told me it could cost me $30,000 in legal fees alone, and she could ride this out for a year if the judge does not enforce the contract and see that she's an Airbnb guest and treats her as a tenant.
Wow. Thank you. Was there anything I didn't ask that you did want to share?
Did we talk about her calling the police on me and stuff?
We did that briefly. Once you started taking action to try to get her out of your home. What was her reaction to that?
She's trying to retaliate against me. She had a car illegally parked in the rear of the property that the DPW legally ticketed and towed. She called the police and put a stolen car report and said that I stole the car when I had the tickets from the people who towed the car. The police have called me and harassed me several times. She even called and said that I was threatening her at the property, and I was at home in Maryland at my house, and the police are calling me, yelling at me, saying, why are you at the house threatening her? And I'm like, I'm not even at the house. I had to actually call the sergeant and get the officer to call, and the officer ended up apologizing to me because of her reaction. So she's manipulating the police to her advantage to try to create a paper trail as if I'm threatening her, or as if I'm stealing her car, when all I'm doing is try to legally protect my home.
Thank you.
Great interviewer, by the way. She's a very good job. Let's get to what Shadija has to say. So this is her. She thinks she's in the right. She also thinks that this journalist did zero research. So you'll see, you know the story, you know what's happening. You'll see throughout this interview, and I'll pause it here and there and talk about it, but throughout this interview, she tries to gaslight this journalist, this investigative reporter. And the investigative reporter did her investigation and knows the truth. So the reason I said at the beginning of this that the journalist did a great job is because instead of arguing back and forth with this woman, she just hands her the rope. She just keeps handing her the rope and lets her speak, lets her make these statements that is blatantly false before she springs on her that she actually knows the truth. It's masterful. It's masterful.
So first, let's just start with your first name and your last name and how you spell it.
Shadija Romero.
Do you mind if I close?
That's fine. Just maybe not the screen door, since we don't know if,
By the way, I found the unedited version of this interview, so there is some spots like this where it's breaking the fourth wall basically. But I think the unedited version is the best way to look at this, because obviously the news reports took clips, but you never know if they're out of context. You don't know what's going on. So I wanted to show all of you the unedited version.
Just close which one?
that one, that door.
Okay, good. Got it, okay. Okay, first name and last name, and spell it for me, love.
Shadija Romero, Shadija, last name Romero.
Okay, so we know why we are here. Tell me how it got to this point.
In February of this year, I moved into the unit initially through an Airbnb. There was a month agreement, which I paid for on the Airbnb platform due to a fire,
Dr. Phil wants to know if he can just jump in or if he needs to go back and catch up. I'll give you the TLDR. This woman rented a house in February on Airbnb for 32 days. After the 32 days was up, she didn't leave, and she asked the homeowner if she could stay. She claimed that her previous apartment had a fire and they were doing renovations, which is why she needed a place to live short term. And it is now December and she hasn't left yet, and she hasn't paid rent since that initial payment to Airbnb in February. That's the catch up. So you can jump in now. And while we have it paused, Duckfoot Fund. Carla sent one earlier for treats. Did I miss a super chat, Carla? If I did, I'm so very sorry. Let me check the fan funding. I did see a $2 from Carla, and I did give out milk bones, but I will give out duck feet right now. It's duck foot time, ladies. Are you excited? They look very excited. Let's turn up their light. Why is their light not on? Nope. I guess it is on. Thank you very much, Legal Fiction. We've got the feet. And don't forget, tomorrow is the Super Mega Stream. Oh, and 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you as well. From... Put this away. Pizza King for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. There's that. Duckfoot. There's that. Duckfoot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I guess that means I need to have another drink. Should I have a whole drink? Should I drink full shots this whole time, you think? Huh. Maybe I should. Are you guys going to give me a hangover tomorrow if I do that? Cheers. Thank you so much. I think the alcohol percentage is less than the Bacardi that I normally drink, so I will put it in a poll. Just to point this out, the way you have it set up right now, the liar looks like your yes. She is not my co-host.
I then asked the owner if we could extend the time frame in the home. We came to an agreement that I could do that. She sent me monthly invoices, which I paid those monthly invoices in order to stay in the unit. I had a month where I had a financial loss of over like $17,000.
Was that due to work or personal?
It's a personal issue. I helped someone in the past and it came back to bite me because everyone could see, you can search me because I'm not hiding from anyone. So they were able to find me, and then I was held liable for something I helped someone do. So that put me in a financial strain, but either way.
Sounds like bullshit to me. I'm going to speed her up, by the way.
I still made the payment. I made the payment late because I had the issue. I'm sorry, I'm emotional. I didn't mean to get emotional. I'm trying to speak clearly.
I can't speed it up.
The financial thing was, like I said, almost $17,000. So it sent me into a depression where I was considering suicide because it was such a big loss. I was trying to purchase a home. That's why I had so much money. But anyway, I paid the rent. I paid it late. In October, there was the same thing. With the invoice being sent, the invoices being sent every month. Prior to me going out of the country, well, actually, I was going to make a payment on the 15th of October. On the 15th of October, my daughter's car, her steering wheel locked while she was driving, and I had to get to her because she was on the roadway, and the issue I needed to make sure that she was safe and get her resolved.
By the way, as a property manager, I would just like to say all of these things she's saying are her problems, not me problems. These are not landlord problems. These are tenant problems. It does not matter what sob story you have. I don't care if your daughter's car broke down. I don't care if somebody scammed you. It does not matter. You still have to pay your rent. or get out. You have that option too.
That took me past the hours of like bank hours, so I didn't make my payment on that day because the
Also,
bank had closed. I had the emergency.
also she comes up with this thing in her head where if you pay late, then you don't have to get out. If you still owe the money, you still have to get out and you still owe the money. It doesn't reset anything. Once you break the terms of your contract, they can still kick you out.
Situation with my daughter. The next day, I went to retrieve the funds for the payment because I was going out of the country and I wanted it, taken care of while I was gone. But it wasn't. The money was lost. I wasn't aware of that while I was gone. I came back, and so the 15th was the day the payment was due. 16th, I went out of the country. When I went out of the country, because I had just had that big financial loss, I turned all of my phones off because I was trying to.
So just so you guys understand what's happening here, she's saying she just had this traumatic experience of this big financial loss. So she went on vacation because she was depressed about losing $17,000. Yes, you're hearing that right. She decided to go on a vacation abroad, out of the country. She went on a vacation abroad to ease her pain of losing $17,000. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I have a financial loss, I don't spend any money on anything. I cut back on vacations. Like I don't go on vacations. I don't go anywhere. I buy the minimal groceries at Aldi just to stay alive. I don't go on gallivanting around the world insane.
Like decompress from,
Meanwhile,
what
homeowner still owes $4,000 a month in mortgage payments and electricity that the judge made her turn back on, and whatever other bills
I had been experiencing. And I didn't turn my phones back on until later that Monday. When I came into the property on that Monday, so that's like maybe 6 days after the rent was due, the electricity to the home had been cut off. And at that point, that's when I was made aware that the payment had not been made. I then called Pepco to figure out, at first I thought maybe it was a power outage. So first I called Pepco, found out it wasn't a power outage and that the owners had turned off they had turned off the electricity. So then the electricity was turned on so that we could have power. They turned the power back off because they said I had no right to turn the power on. I went to the courthouse that following day to file an emergency hearing because they had turned the power off and I didn't want them to be able to turn the power off again. No point prior to this did I state anything about like tenant rights. Was I worried about anything about tenant rights? Because up until that point, everything was being paid every month. Even if it was paid 2 days late, it was paid. After that, we've now progressed to the point where they come to the home almost every other day. I called the police. The police informed them that I was a resident or a tenant here. She said that we didn't have a lease, which we do not have.
It is not up to the police. I'm sure what the police said is this is a civil matter. We can't do anything about it, ma'am, who owns this house. They didn't say she's a tenant. She gets to stay rent free for as long as she wants. The police, I guarantee, did not say that to you or anybody.
Lease in place, but we did have an agreement for me to stay at the property beyond the initial Airbnb time frame. So she's been back to the property almost every day. They installed signs.
Yeah.
The police told me that I could take down the signs. because they were not legal signs issued by the court. They were signs that she had just had.
It's her house. She can put up any sign she wants on her property at her house. You can't take them down, which is why you didn't take them down. You covered them up with a bed sheet. You can't take them down. And I applaud this homeowner for going back every day or every other day, putting up signs, doing everything that she can to make it as uncomfortable as possible for this woman, because the courts are not helping her by getting her out of her home. So she's going to make it as uncomfortable as possible so that she leaves on her own. I don't know if you guys remember, was it last year, maybe earlier this year? Asian Andy, which is an online internet personality, had a squatter renting a room at his sister's house, and he did the same thing. He moved in and he made it as uncomfortable as possible for the squatter in this situation. It was in Los Angeles. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest checking it out. It's hilarious because he live streamed the whole thing.
In an attempt to try to harass me more and force me out of the property sooner. I told them that I could not be out of the property within a short period of time because I had just had that financial issue, but that I would go through this process that DC has to assist people who have had financial issue in order to pay the rent. Informed that I would go through that, and that while they were going through the legal process while they initiated the legal process, because they had never initiated the legal process before to like have me move from the property, that I would ensure that everything was paid.
I'm so happy that somebody in the chat knew what I was talking about, because otherwise it sounds like I'm just calling some random dude Asian Andy, but that is literally his online like name. That's what he goes by. I'm not just saying it's a guy named Andy who happens to be Asian. His online name is Asian Andy, and it was a saga. It was a hours long, like days long, hours long saga. I'm sure it lasted days and days and days, but the part that's online is like a 6-hour saga. It's great.
And then it's just been a continuance of them, the police and you coming to the home, and the power is currently off. So, yes.
Well, thank you for sharing your side, Lauren. I heard you mention the tragedies of financial loss. I do know also when I went through the court records, the messages between you two, the Airbnb reservation, things like that. I heard you say there were payments, but transaction-wise, there was nothing for nearly 9-10 months, July.
No, that's incorrect. And
here's where she gets her. This woman thought she was gaslighting this news reporter the whole time, and the news reporter is like, "Ha, gotcha."
To you, I could show you the receipts that she sent me.
Welp, let's see about that. Let's see about it.
The owner sent me direct links every month after March for payments. So I have been making payments via a PayPal link that they sent. If I can go and grab my phone, I can even show you a receipt that says it's to.
Making up receipts doesn't make it true. It doesn't make proof. That's not proof of payment. Showing receipts from your PayPal or whatever is not proof of payment. And trust me, I have to get proof of payment from people all the time. That does not constitute proof of payment.
I don't want to say the name, but the name of their investment group that I guess oversees the property. So I have been making payments. The first payment was made directly through Airbnb. After that time frame, we made an agreement that I would stay after, and she sent me direct links through PayPal to make the payments every month. 1 or 2 months, I didn't make the payment through PayPal. I made it through Apple Pay or through Zelle, but the payment was made. So every month she had to send me an invoice. I didn't have to request the invoice. She just sent the invoice because we were in agreement that I would be staying at the property. So that's untrue. I have not been here for 9-10 months and not been paying. That is inaccurate. And
I'll let you get after we, just so we can run through all the, in case you have to get anything else. Let's start from the beginning. When you made the Airbnb reservation, because I saw the reservation, you mentioned it was for a fire. Around that same time, court records show at your previous apartment, you were also getting evicted for not paying rent. And
So that wasn't for that place. It was for a previous place where something happened during COVID when everyone was not receiving payment. I'm an entrepreneur and I also have a nonprofit. So that's what that was for. The fire that I had, I actually had.
Do not trust anybody. Do not trust any nonprofit where the person who has the nonprofit is a proven liar, is a proven scammer, is untrustworthy, and just all around piece of crap. Just if the person who runs a nonprofit is a piece of crap, don't give them money.
A fire, there's a police report, a fire report for it. The police came out, the fire department came out, determined that it was an electrical issue in the wall that then created.
Was it at the same apartment building?
I would not be surprised. Seriously? Really? Ava, come here. What are you doing? Sorry about the interruption. I forget what I was. Oh, I would not be surprised if this fire that happened to start in an apartment that she was getting evicted from, that she owed $50,000 to. $50,000 she owed to this place, and a fire magically started. I just really would not be shocked if it turns out that she had something to do with that. I'm not saying that she did or she didn't. All I'm saying is that if it turns out that it's proven that she did, I would not be shocked. That's all. Let me take these squeaky toys away from these dogs. Sorry about the interruption.
For
Ava Noma, that apartment, because that says 2023. It was you were there 2023, 2024.
So Ava Noma is where I had the fire, yes.
Ava Noma is the one showing that you were in the process of being evicted for paying 1 month's rent when you were there for 13.
So no, that would not be accurate.
So the court records are not accurate?
I did not go to court for eviction for Ava Noma. I did have a fire at that unit, yes.
Okay. Just so you know, court records do show that they were evicting you. It has documents you also filed in that process. It also shows.
I love the zoom in. Great work. A+, chef's kiss, cameraman. So there may have been a fire. There may not have, but she's shocked that this news reporter knows that she was in the process of getting evicted. It doesn't matter. It absolutely does not matter if there was a fire or there wasn't. You weren't supposed to be in there. You were there for 13 months. 13 months. You paid for one. You paid for one. Nobody cares about a fire, whether there was or there wasn't. She's like, give me my phone so I can show you proof. What? That there was a fire at this apartment complex? That's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. The poll says that I have to have full shots. Well, I mean, 12 or 18% of you don't want that. So maybe I should take 22% say. Sorry, it changed. 22%. So maybe I should take shots that are 78% full. I think that's what we're going to do. 78% full shots. Unless that number changes. Thank you very much, Legal Fiction, for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate that. It really helps around the holiday times, and I have other stuff going on that I think you probably know about. Other people may not, because I don't talk about it online, but I appreciate it, sir. Cheers. And I will show you. It is 78%. 78% full. Cheers. And Gary, for $5. Why do the laws in DC allow this to take place? Confused. It's not just DC. There's a lot of places that are like this. There was a pretty famous one out of New York recently where the woman's aunt, I believe, passed away and left her the home. And she just didn't go there. She was grieving her aunt that passed away, and she didn't go there for a couple of months. And these people were checking the obituaries, found somebody who had passed away, moved in immediately. So by the time she got there a month and a half or so later, the person had already been there 30 days. So it's not just DC. It's not just DC, for sure. Thank you so much, everybody who's supporting my channel. I'm trying to get extra live streams in this month, and I like it that you guys show up even though it's not my normal time and day. It warms my heart.
Trying to apply for EREP to stay there.
And I applied for it now through here, not for Ava Noma, because my payments were made for Ava Noma.
Okay. Just, the court records do show something different. Might hear you on that.
That's the other thing she said just before we paused it. She's like, oh, I never went to court for the Ava Noma apartment. Just because you didn't show up to court doesn't mean there's not judgments against you. It doesn't mean there's not a writ of possession issued to the landlord. None of that matters, whether you actually physically went to the court building or not.
You mentioned that you're saying from the start of your Airbnb reservation to now, you've made every single payment.
Correct. And I can show you the receipts for those.
Okay. So you're saying Roshane Douglas, the homeowner, is essentially lying and saying that you have not made
any
payments.
Correct.
Okay.
She sent me links, direct PayPal links for payment. Okay. And there's no way I could pay it without having the PayPal links or having her Zelle information in order to send her those payments.
Okay. In some of the text messages between you and her, you did acknowledge that you hadn't paid.
Which month? Was it a May?
Multiple months, starting around August to now.
No. So it may have been okay, I didn't pay it yet, but it was then paid. But I have a payment for my August. I have receipts for my August payment, July, June, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I have payments, receipts that show that.
Did you book the Airbnb with the intention of staying?
No, I did not book the Airbnb with the intent of staying.
So why are you still here?
Because after the repairs were done, the place still smelled like fire and there was water damage. So the water damage was more substantial than the fire damage. And
you guys know that I deal with stuff like this all the time. The water damage is what was being repaired. I guarantee it. They don't fix the fire damage and not fix the water damage. The water is more detrimental to a structure than fire is. I know it sounds backwards, it sounds messed up, but a landlord's worst nightmare is water intrusion. Water intrusion causes way more problems than fire ever will. I promise you. The water is what was being repaired. And they probably fixed if there was, some singes on the wall or whatever by the electrical outlet. They probably replaced that bit of drywall as well. But the remediation company main goal, the remediation company's main goal is the water damage. It's getting difficult to say large words like remediation. So we'll see how the rest of the night goes.
once they started doing the repairs and even completed the repairs, when we went back into the unit, the lease was actually up in April of that year. Once they completed the repairs in about May, everything still smelled like water and fire. And at that point, now the lease was up.
Okay.
The lease was for an addition 20, I'm not sure, but it was for an extended period. So it was more than a year.
Okay.
And so the lease was officially up in April.
The lease was up in April.
And so then the process, I had started a process with LEDC to purchase a home.
To purchase a home, okay. And you're saying you're still here because the home purchase didn't complete, or?
Correct. So I started the home buying process with LEDC. They have a program where I believe it's called HPAP. HPAP will assist you with paying your down payment costs. This year, they switched the program to a lottery program for that assistance. So with the program, they will pay your down payment and your closing costs. Before, the program was just you applied and you got in. This year, it turned to a lottery. That program didn't actually open up until November. Okay. So the program didn't open up for you to even be considered for the lottery until November.
Where are you in that process? Or let me ask you this. You mentioned you didn't, in the middle of your Airbnb process, you didn't go back to your apartment because it still smelled like smoke.
And water damage.
What makes you choose to stay here instead when the homeowner has made it clear she doesn't want you here, doesn't want to be a landlord?
Okay, the only reason I posed Ava is because she hangs with her head off the bed and the camera doesn't go down, like you can't see her otherwise. So yes, I'm going to pose her because I need that $5 for milk bones. That's why.
There's now no utilities on. There's wood boarded up. There's a sign outside saying she doesn't want you here. What's making you choose to stay?
So no, that didn't start until literally this month.
What didn't start?
The sign on the building or the utility, that wasn't something that happened prior to this point, prior to this month. So if that had happened months ago and that was something that I've been dealing with for months, I would leave. So now, with all of this going on, I am going to leave. The process was never to stay here for forever. The plan was to go back, and then if not, then purchase a home, which is why I started the home buying process. Now that we are going through this here, I am going, even though we're going to still go through the court process, which I filed documents. No one filed documents initially. So if anyone was trying to get me out of the home, they would have filed paperwork to get me out of the home and any of the months that they said that I did not make payments. That didn't happen. No one filed paperwork. The Douglases didn't file paperwork until I filed paperwork.
They did give you a 30-day notice.
Which for 1 month that they did not receive a payment, and then they received the payment later. So let's say you're in an apartment or your home. Do you rent or do you own?
Own, but I also have a signed contract saying that I own, and or when I rented, I have a signed lease saying that I own.
So have you ever rented before?
Yes.
Okay. So when you pay your rent, if you don't pay your rent after, let's say, the 5th, then you get a notice that you didn't pay your rent, correct? Right. And then that notice might say, you haven't paid your rent, you need to pay the rent. We're filing this paperwork in the courthouse because you have not filed this paperwork. If you don't pay, then you need to vacate the unit.
Right.
Okay. So whenever she's provided a vacate notice, it might have been because the payment had not been received yet. Once the payment was received, she would send another invoice, and now we're in another month because that month that she did the vacate notice for was because the payment was late. If the payment was made, then there were no other issues. She then sent another invoice.
So in this lady's head, because this landlord is trying to get to recruit, I said, whose fault is it that I'm speaking like this? I'm not saying it. You all can let me know in the chat whose fault is it. Because the landlord is trying to recoup any amount of money at all, because she's got mortgage payments to pay, she thinks that that's an invitation for her to stay. No, the landlord is saying, if you're going to be here, pay me. If you're going to be here, pay me. That's what the landlord is saying. We don't want you here. We had a notice to vacate. We have a writ. Well, they don't have a writ of possession yet. We have a notice to vacate. We gave you a 3-day notice to quit, but you're still here. So if you're going to be here, pay me.
For the next month, and there was no longer an issue. The vacate notice would be if there wasn't payment made. So just like your apartment, like I said, if you rent an apartment, you pay the rent late, they give you a notice that you haven't made the payment. You make the payment, and then everything is fine. And that is what has happened. So it has not been since I've been here in February that I have not been making payments. That is incorrect.
Did Douglases ever, or did you and the Douglases ever sign a document or agree to you renting this property outside of that Airbnb reservation?
We have text messages, yes, where they agreed to me staying in the property after the initial Airbnb rental period.
So even as I was listening.
I have a feeling there's not text messages that say, yes, you can stay here for 10 months free of charge, which is what you've done, by the way. You stayed there rent free for 10 months.
To the court hearing, it was stated that after the Airbnb 32 days was up, you mentioned you want to extend your stay at the Airbnb. And that's what that extension was, an extension of being an Airbnb guest. Are you saying you took that as an extension of, I'm now renting?
No. So we did not rent. We no longer did any rentals through Airbnb. The Airbnb rental was only 1 month through Airbnb. After that time frame, I went through paying the owners directly. So we extended the time frame. They agreed to allow me to stay in the space till whenever, I guess, until I don't make a payment. And then they go through a process. The initial process was not to stay in here for an extended amount of time. No, but it was to stay beyond well, it wasn't even to stay beyond the 30 days. But once we knew that I had to stay beyond the initial Airbnb rental, we no longer went through Airbnb. So there was never an extension of the Airbnb. Everything went directly through the owner. You're saying Airbnb as if I went to the Airbnb, rented it for 30 days, said I'm staying, and I'm not paying you anything. And then since that 30 days in February or March, it would have ended, I've been staying here without them knowing, and I haven't been paying. That would be inaccurate.
So you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that after the 30-day and everything was on Airbnb, once it left Airbnb, that's when the agreement started of, to you, a month-to-month stay
Correct.
here.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that you are going to leave, but you're going to go through the court process.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm going to leave before the court process finishes, but we are still going to go through the court process.
And why is that?
Because now you have caused me, when you decided to lock, so the police informed her that that they are not allowed to enter the property without 48 hours written notice, because I was staying here. Okay.
So this woman's saying that, well, I was gonna leave, but the landlord harassed me. So now she's gonna have to take me to court. Boo. What? Merry Christmas, Erica. Just got home from Christmas shopping. Wonderful. Was it a crazy madhouse out there? I bet it was. Erica member for 26 months. I love you, Zena. Zena loves you too. Look she heard me say your name and she peeked her head out. She heard Erica and she's like, oh, Erica's here? Thank you very much, Erica. Actually, 26 months. We're doing chicken hearts for that. Chicken hearts for them. We're almost out of chicken hearts, by the way. I'm gonna have to get some more. They're not inexpensive, but they're not super expensive either. So we'll get them some more chicken hearts for sure. Unfortunately, I no longer have a P.O. box, so you guys cannot send me stuff anymore. Unfortunately, my tubby stalker put an end to me having a P.O. box. But if you wanted a specific thing bought, if you want to like PayPal me or whatever, Venmo or whatever, and tell me the specific thing to buy, I will definitely do that if you wanted to get something for the dogs. I think that's a good workaround I could do. Sorry about the tubby stalker.
On Thanksgiving, while I left to have Thanksgiving, they entered the unit.
There is an ending to this story. There is a conclusion, and we will get there. You're going to have to wait. I'm going to have suspense on my side. You're going to have to wait. We're getting there. There is an ending, and it is a Christmas miracle. Let's just put it that way.
Without my knowledge, to change the locks, turn off the power. That is when they didn't turn the power off through Pepco. They did something to the breaker box, where then the breaker box is not sending power to the home. After she turned the power off in the home, when we got into the home, she then called CPS to tell them that my younger daughter, was in the home without power, but my daughter was leaving. She left. She hasn't stayed here because the temperature was cold. I couldn't leave the property because they had taken the batteries out of the door, and the doors could not be locked, and my property was still in there. So although we're going
Easy fix for that. Remove your property and it won't be left with no lock on the door. How about that?
through the court process, because now you have said that I'm a squatter. A squatter is a person who illegally goes onto a property, then they ever have that's like if your home that you own was vacant and no one was there, and then I decided I'm going to go into your home because I know it's vacant and you don't know that I'm going into the property. That is what a squatter is. A squatter is someone who has illegally entered the property without your notice and you never had an agreement with them.
It's also not just if the home's vacant, it's if you're there without the owner's permission.
I mean, we could clear this up right now, right? Let's clear it up. A squatter is a person who unlawfully occupies an uninhabited building or unused land. I believe she is illegally occupying an uninhabited building and or unused land. Ma'am, you're a squatter.
And you're not leaving.
Yes, if you had maybe that other part is there, but we had an agreement. So I'm not here because I had an Airbnb rental in February to March. And I said, you know what? I had an Airbnb rental for a month. I'm never leaving.
February till March. Let's see when this interview was. This interview was on December 5th. She had an agreement that ended in March. It's December 5th at the taping of this interview. You're a squatter.
Here, and I'm never going to pay you anything, and you need to get me out through the courts. That was never the case. We had an agreement.
You did say that through text, though.
Oh, I said that through text about afterwards when you decided to then start harassing me. I said, you're going to have to go through the court process. Yes, in order to legally get me out of the property. That didn't mean that I'm staying in the property indefinitely. I'm literally going to be leaving the property as soon as possible. Like, start packing up. Because now it's gotten to a point where it messes with somebody's emotional.
Do you have any idea how much I wish this cameraman, who's been pretty cool so far, as she said about packing up and how she's going to pack up and all this, and once she said that, I'm going to leave now, if he would have just taken his camera and panned around the house, showing 0 packed boxes, 0. And I know there's 0 packed boxes because we do have video from inside the home from like 2 weeks later.
And their peace, and we're not doing that.
There
were payments made every month prior to that. So you can't say that you didn't want me. If you didn't want me in the property, why were you sending me invoices for payments? Why were payments made and you accepted them? Why did you accept any of those payments if you didn't want me in the property? Let's say you issued a 30-day notice in June. Let's say she did. I don't know that she did. Let's say in June, I didn't make my payment on the 5th or the 15th, and you sent me a 30-day notice, but then I paid the rent on the following day.
Doesn't matter.
Why'd you not leave after signing the document stating that you weren't a tenant and that you would leave November 15th?
Does not matter. If they sent her a letter to vacate because she's past her grace period for whenever her rent is due, which there's no lease in place. So this is kind of a moot point. But let's say that happened and you send them a letter to vacate because they're late on their payment. And then you make a payment the next day. It does not void the letter to vacate. You still owe that money. You still have to vacate unless the landlord changes their mind. And a lot of times landlords do change their mind, because if you have a tenant that's just late every once in a while, it's easier to keep that person there who does pay most of the time than to find a new tenant. Right? So a lot of times landlords will do that, and it's up to the landlord's discretion. But if there's a person that is a pain in the butt, who I can't stand, who is a problem every step of the way, who is a minute late past midnight on the date that their rent is due, they have broken their lease. I can kick them out, and I will kick them out.
If she gave you $2,500.
So whatever that agreement is, that is an agreement that the owner...
Let me rewind it a minute, because this is getting to a point where they're talking about this woman signed a pay the landlord was finally so fed up that she's like, I will give you $2,500 cash money in your hand if you leave. If you sign this paper saying that you were never a long-term tenant, you were only an Airbnb tenant, and you're going to get out by the 15th of November. This woman signed the paper, took the money, and it's December 5th right now, and she's still inside the place.
Issued a 30-day notice in June. Let's say she did. I don't know that she did. Let's say in June, I didn't make my payment on the 5th or the 15th, and you sent me a 30-day notice, but then I paid the rent on the following day.
Why'd you not leave after signing the document stating that you weren't a tenant and that you would leave November 15th if she gave you $2,500?
So whatever that agreement is, that is an agreement that the owner, Mr. Douglas, he said that his wife was under an amount of stress because I had paid the rent late previously, and that she was now distressed, and he and I have had a pretty much cordial relationship after that. I told him I wasn't sure that I would be able to leave the property within that time frame because I had just suffered a big financial loss in the month previously. So there was no way I could guarantee that I would be out within that time frame. Before that time frame came, I informed them there's no way I can be out before that time frame because of this financial issue that I informed you of. They don't have to be accepting of the financial issue that I have, because whether the financial issue exists, rent has to be paid, right? But if rent is not paid due to a financial issue or whatever issue, I was then informed while I'm going through the process to then move out and get everything done that you had to go through the courts. I went to the court in order to make sure the power was on while we're doing that. The court informed me, the court attorneys at Landlord and Tenant informed me that nothing had been filed against me to get me out of the property. Nothing had ever been filed, and that I would have to file in order to protect myself from them turning the power off until I moved out of the property.
Okay. Where are
All right. Next video. And this is the conclusion of this BS. Yes, absolute baloney.
are you going to go next?
I'm moving out of the property. I don't need to tell them where I'm moving.
Yeah.
I asked that.
You do have to leave a forwarding address, actually.
I asked that in the sense of if you did have somewhere to go with all this, and you mentioned she was harassing you. And
This just started, so it's not like the harassment has not been for months. So when you're saying harassment and you're saying why haven't I left prior, it seems as if this is an issue that has been going on for months, which it has not. This has only been like a 2 week. This has been like now it's been a month process. So it hasn't been some process that has been going on for months. It has not gone on for months. It has not. It's only been going on now for a month. Literally.
By the way, anybody getting here late, she keeps referring to the fact that she's made payments throughout these months. She has not made any payments, according to the court records, according to the landlord, and according to the court records. What she has is made up BS receipts that she probably made in Microsoft Word, that she paid rent, but she did not pay rent. She paid the initial Airbnb through Airbnb payment, and then nothing since then. Apparently, she made payments on an American Express card and then reversed the payments. So a payment did go through, which would give her a receipt, and then called the credit card company and had those reversed as well.
So you're saying just November or just December?
The end of October is when the stuff started. The harassment started in November.
Okay.
So the harassment didn't start until mid-November. So the harassment, the sign, the cutting the power off, that was November. Well, the power was cut off in October. first, but then they turned the power back on, but then they turned it back off in November. So the issues didn't start until October, November, the end of October, the beginning of November. There was no harassment prior to that. There was no issue with installing signs. None of that started months ago, and I'm just staying here dealing with harassment. No, that's not the case.
Where do you think the missing link or disconnect is between you and the homeowners, between you feeling and saying that you are renting and them saying that you are here without their permission and legally? In one sentence, what would you say that disconnect or link is?
I think the disconnect is simply you not wanting to I don't know. I would say it was simply that you have decided that you don't want me in the property anymore.
She decided.
And instead of,
she decided that when you did not pay in March. In March of 2025, she didn't want you there anymore. You're still there in December.
trying to do that the legal way. Let's say, even if you go the legal way, I'm planning to leave before. Let's say she decides to go to landlord and tenant court tomorrow, and that process takes 6 months. I'm not going to be here for 6 months while we go through that process. Now, while we go through the civil process, I will be still going through that, but I'm not even going to stay here for that time frame. But I would say the disconnect is understanding that regardless of whether you want to see me as a tenant or not, once you allowed me, do I need to, is that disconnect?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Like I said, this is unedited.
People are, that I don't know, are calling my, phones. Okay.
Oh,
I would
no.
say that the disconnect is
Oh,
simple.
no. She's getting a call from an unknown number. And by the way, this interview's been going on for like 45 minutes now, and she's gotten one call. I don't consider that being, I mean, I understand if you're getting even a couple a day, that's annoying. But if you get a call from an unknown number, don't answer the phone. I don't answer the phone for unknown numbers. If somebody's trying to get a hold of me and you have my phone number, if you're not programmed in my phone, I don't answer unless you text me first and say, hey, I'm about to call you. Public service announcement for anybody trying to get a hold of me.
That you want something to happen in a quicker time frame than I can make possible. So I would say within the next 2 weeks, before the end of December, before there is anything serious, that I would be out of this property. It might even be within the next week that I would be
No
fully
boxes
packed up and
packed.
have my stuff out. Because now it's gotten to the point of harassment and messing with the peace. That was not a problem before. If that was a problem before, then I would have been on a speedier process to make this happen. But because I may have paid late and then make the payment,
Didn't pay.
and you send me another invoice, I'm under the impression because you send me another invoice for another month that we are fine. Just like if I were renting an apartment and I paid it late and then I paid it later, you make the payment, everything goes back as long as you're making your payments. So I don't know if I answered your question on that.
No, you're fine. So essentially when they sent you the payment request for when you wanted to extend, to you, that's an agreement of, I'm going to stay
At the property, because why would you send me a payment link for rent if you don't want me to stay here? If you wanted me out in April, why did you send me one for April? If you wanted me out in May, why did you send me one in May? If you wanted me out in June, why did you send me a link for June, July, August, September, October? Why did you send me those links for payment? And if I was in the property,
Because she was hoping that you would pay the dang bill, which you did not pay the bill.
unwilling, like you didn't want me in the property, and let's say I was being hostile. Let's say I was.
You are.
Now, the home right now, I have a business, so that's why this stuff is here on the floor, right? But the home is not in a position where anything is being damaged. You know, like I haven't messed up the walls. There's nothing done. So if you wanted me out of the property because you felt like I was doing something to the property, or you just didn't want me at the property anymore, you would go through the process to make sure that the person cannot be at your property, which would be going through it legally, not because the person, whether you agree to a lease or not. If I own a home, I know that in order to get the person out, I have to make sure I go through the process to get them out. Why didn't that process happen if you wanted me out? And why were you continuing to send me invoices and accept the payment? So if you send me an invoice, then you say, never mind, you know what, I'm not taking your payment. But
Would
you
that have
accept it all.
changed anything though? Because you mentioned that because you were here for 30 days, you have the tenant rights, and you were telling her she has to go through the court process.
So I would have the tenant process. Wasn't even thinking about that until we got to the point of the harassment. So at no point in March or April or May did I think
What was
about
considered harassment for you, just to clarify? Because based on the messages, it seemed like you started claiming harassment when you started asking for the missed payments or money that wasn't received.
No,
She says
it's
wasn't
when
received.
you come to the home, you're banging on the door, the police say to you, you can't come in. You come in, you sit down, you threaten me, tell me that you're going to break all of the windows in the house.
So she
You know
came
what's
in.
crazy? There's no evidence of this landlord going into the house at all. I've seen zero evidence that the landlord went into the house. Wouldn't you, if somebody's coming into your place where you live, whether you're right or wrong, whether you've paid rent or not, would you not pull out your phone and videotape them, or at least snap a picture of them sitting on your sofa?
Inside and threatened you?
Yes, the police have it on their cameras.
Haven't seen
They
it.
were wearing footage. They
Have not seen this footage. It is miraculously disappeared. If that footage is out there, dang, I can't talk. If that footage is out there, someone please send it to me. I will make a correction. But I looked into the story. As you can see, I have all these tabs pulled up. But I looked into the story, have not seen any footage from body cams or anywhere else that this landlord went into her house and threatened and harassed her.
the body cameras
I've seen
came in the home. Then
the
you go,
landlord has admitted she went and knocked on her door every other day. She's trying to get her to be uncomfortable so she'll leave. I agree with that tactic.
outside of the home because they say, no, you know what, if you continue to do this, we're going to arrest you because she has rights to be here. Despite them saying that, she would come back every other day to say something or do something else in order to create hell.
Let me say this because, respectfully to the people who have seen this, to those who have heard about. So
I'm sorry. So my point is that at no point prior to that was I ever saying, I have tenant rights. You better not do this, because there was no need for me to feel like I needed to have tenant rights before that. There was no need for me to feel like you're going to do something that is going to put my living in danger for me to feel like I need to protect myself, because I make a payment and we're back on good terms. So there was never a thought about what a tenant right was until we got to the point of that.
the contention.
Correct. Does that make sense to you? Am
It
making
does.
sense?
I hear you. It does look like this based on everything, and I'll give you, of course, a chance to respond after. It does look like, based on the court records, that you were getting evicted from Ava Noma because you were there for 13 months and only paid for a month.
Yep.
And around the time you were getting evicted, you booked this Airbnb for 32 days. You then told the homeowner you needed more time because of the alleged fire and things like that, and you wanted an extension and asked to pay via Amex or another way outside of Airbnb. She accepted that extension. And then you continued staying. You say you paid. She says she never received payment. And then you said because you were here for 30 days, DC says you are a tenant and she has to go through the process to get you out. You signed an agreement saying that you would be out. She offered to pay you to leave, essentially. You signed and agreed and still did not leave. With all of that together, to her, it does appear, in a sense, with you knowing how DC laws work, that you kind of scammed your way into long-term housing.
Yeah, she
Okay,
did.
so first of all, you said alleged fire. There was a fire. There's no alleged.
Out
a
of
fire.
everything that this journalist just said, she's focused on the fact that the journalist said You rented this Airbnb because of an alleged fire. The journalist did not say that the fire was alleged. She said that the reason you booked the Airbnb is because you were getting evicted, not because of the fire. And this is what she focuses on. Out of everything that was just said in the last 3 minutes, the owing $50,000 to her previous landlord, of living there for 13 months and only paying for one, out of booking the Airbnb for 32 days and then extending it, everything, and then not paying for a year. Out of everything that was just said, this woman is concerned with the fact that the journalist said alleged fire. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, first of all, you said alleged fire. There was a fire. There's no alleged. A fire happened, a fire report happened, a police report happened, and it was investigated. So, a fire happened. So, it's not alleged. So, me saying I need to stay there because of a fire would not be an inaccurate statement, because there was a fire and I was displaced because of the fire. Because
Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Let me know if I'm the crazy one here. The fact that she needed a place to stay was not because of the fire. It was because she was getting evicted and she only paid the first month's rent at her previous apartment and lived there for 13 months. Am I the crazy one?
there was so much water damage that it went all the way down to the first floor of the building.
She wanted to squat there for longer, so she needed a place to stay. There was a fire and she couldn't squat there anymore because there was damage to the place.
So that would be the first thing. The second thing is,
what you doing?
If you, once you agreed that I could stay in the property after that and send invoices, let's say, however, I asked, do you want to do it through Airbnb or do you want to do it directly?
Do you have that message?
I'm sure I can. I
Nope.
I don't know.
I'll give you
find
my
it.
number and you can send
Yes.
it later.
So the option was never me saying, I want to pay you outside of Airbnb. That was never a statement. There was
Why
never
did you correct that when she said that in court?
Oh.
Because she did say that you stated that you.
Good question, Miss Journalist. Why didn't you correct that statement when it was said under oath in court that you were the one that said you wanted to do it outside of Airbnb? Why would you not object to that and say, I'm sorry, actually, she's the one that suggested that. Here's the proof. Here's the text messages.
Initiated the outside payment in court.
So I don't think she said that. So we had court today.
Yes.
And while I was trying to ask questions about the legality
We'll catch you later, John. Just so everybody knows, once we're done here, we're going to head over to John's chat and watch some body cam videos, I assume, or whatever he's got going on over there. He does a lot of retro videos over there, too. It's a lot of fun, and we're going to catch you at your stream in a little bit. We're almost done here.
things and ask other questions, the judge said you cannot. They were there only for the emergency hearing, which was the power being out. Okay. So the other issues where the questions of whether she's lying about payments and all of that, which I sent payments to the judge, which the judge could see the payments. Here's a payment for June.
Mm-hmm. Give me one quick second. Tell him to move us down to 5:30 because we're still talking. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the initiation to go out of Airbnb was not me. It was, and I don't recall that being asked in court. And if it was, when I was trying to ask questions, if you were there, then you heard the judge say that I am here for this. The legal issues, the law questions that you're asking or trying to ask, it has no bearing today. That'll be reviewed next week.
One of the most important questions I want to make sure I do ask you, because I heard you say you're getting calls. I can say sitting here with you that you're also emotionally impacted by this, whatever side anything is on. What do you feel something has been misunderstood, and when people see this story and continue to see it, what do you want them to understand about you?
Me personally, or this situation?
You personally, and the situation.
Everyone has financial issues at some point. No one is free of something happening and they being 1 month or 1 week away from paying their rental payment. If you make your rental payment late, that does not mean that your landlord should be able to cut your power off to your home, that they should be able to come to the home to harass you, to get into the unit, or have your vehicle towed, or put signs.
Absolutely does mean that. If you make your payment late, you're outside of the contract that you signed. A lease is a contract, right? She doesn't have a lease, but in general, if you make your payment late, it does mean that they can cut off your electricity. It does mean that they can tow your car. It does mean that they can start the eviction process. Whether you make the payment the next day or not, you have broken the lease. I put my Venmo and PayPal down there at the bottom if anybody wants to help a sister out or send a Christmas present for me or the dogs. Please do.
On the thing in order to try to publicly humiliate you while you're going through a financial thing, because everyone has paid a bill late. Everyone has. And when you pay that bill late, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you should be under public scrutiny because you paid a bill late. We all have paid a bill late.
Nobody's putting you under public scrutiny because you paid the bill late. They're putting you under public scrutiny because your previous apartment, all of last year, you lived in a place and you didn't pay rent. You lived there for 13 months. You paid 1 month's rent. Now this year in 2025, you paid for February and it's now December, and the only month you paid for was February. That's why you're under public scrutiny, ma'am.
But I guess one last question before I step out. 10 toes down, you're saying guys were in an agreement. She was renting to you. She was your landlord. You were a tenant.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the only reason why we are here, and that I have not been living here for months not paying. That is an inaccurate statement. That is an untrue statement.
Really?
I cannot make invoices to send to her to live in her place.
Yes. She's incapable of making invoices. She's incapable of it. She's incapable of fabricating evidence, apparently.
Initiate all of those, and you accepted my payment every month.
She didn't get payment.
Any way that I made, any of the payments that I made, she said in court that they were all successful. So to say that I paid with my credit card, which if anyone has an Amex, you know that you get points for making payments and then paying your credit card off the immediate month. I like to travel. I can pay it. If the Amex was not an acceptable form of payment, why was I allowed to make the payment that way?
I will say, speaking to both of you, this has created an extreme amount of stress.
By the way, she does like to travel because she went on a vacation abroad instead of paying her rent.
So hopefully there's a resolve for both of you, truly, because from speaking with both of you, there's some either big miscommunication on one side or the other. I think laws that exist and didn't necessarily help in this scenario as well, but it's not a unique scenario. This happens quite often.
But I feel like when it happens before, there's someone who is intentionally trying to work a system. If I were trying to work a system, I would not have made any payments to you. You know, like if I was trying to get into this property to circumvent something, and you would have never received another payment from me outside of the Airbnb. There would have never been another payment, but you were receiving payments every month. So I wasn't trying to circumvent some process. But when it came to protecting myself, my children, and even my child, who is not my child, who's like my adopted daughter, if it comes to protecting them, then I have to protect myself. If that means now saying you're harassing me and you're cutting my power off and I don't have hot water, I have tenant rights, then that's when I'm going to say that.
So it was in your mind self-defense.
Correct. It wasn't a.
Give me a break.
I never mentioned tenant rights before anything was done to make me have to feel like I have to have tenant rights, because I wasn't worried about that, because we were making payments. There would be no issue.
Okay. It seems like it may have escalated from Airbnb gets extending to this, what is now a contentious situation, when you maybe started bringing up tenant rights in this.
But that wasn't until last month. So it's not like, so in March, April, May, June, July, I never said, I have tenant rights here. You know, like, because I never.
It wasn't in your mind.
It wasn't on my mind.
Oh my goodness.
Into this.
Seriously. We're almost done, but I have a couple other things to go over. But before I do, we did get a $20 super chat payment, I guess, on Venmo from Colonel Angus. Thank you so much, Colonel Angus, for the $20 donation. We're going to have a drink. We're going to give the dog some treats. I appreciate it. And Merry Christmas to you, too. Merry Christmas. Are we still doing, we're doing 87% full shots? Oh, it filled up all the way. We're doing a whole one. We're doing a whole one, guys. Check this out. Super full. Super duper full. Cheers, Colonel Angus. I have to say the liqueur, not only does it have less alcohol in it, it tastes delicious. Tastes delicious. Cheers to you, sir. Thank you. Okay. And let me know in the chat if you do that as well, because it doesn't have like a pop-up or anything. So I have to keep checking, but I'll check at the end as well. I got a text message to check my Venmo, so I did do that. Look at this side eye Zena's giving you guys. Did you see it? That was crazy side eye. All right, let's see where we're at now.
Another twist in a bizarre Airbnb battle. 7 News has exclusively told you about a homeowner in Northeast DC who says a squatter has taken over her short-term rental. But that alleged squatter claims she's a tenant with rights. All new at 6 o'clock. Our Felicia Ashley is learning this isn't the first time the so-called unwanted guest has refused to leave a property.
I found court records revealing that Romero stayed in multiple properties in and around DC rent-free for months while they went through the eviction process. Court records show at your previous apartment you were also getting evicted for not paying rent. And
So that wasn't for that place. It was for a previous place where something happened during COVID when everyone was not receiving payment. I'm an entrepreneur and I also have a nonprofit.
Court records show Shadija Romero faced eviction from 2 other DC properties before booking Roshane Douglas's Airbnb nearly a year ago. I reviewed the records with real estate attorney Rich Bianco.
Scrolling down the docket here, she knows what she's doing. So this isn't the first rodeo.
Court records show that in October 2021, she had a year lease at the Jameson at Dakota Apartments. Those owners also filed a suit against Romero. It shows she stayed months past the end of her lease and did not pay anything between May 2022 and January 2023. She also signed a legal agreement to pay the Jameson $35,000 in back rent, but she did not follow through with that agreement. She was officially evicted 8 months after she stopped paying.
I did not go to court for eviction for Avanoma.
5 days after she was evicted from the Jameson, records show she moved into Avanoma. She paid 1 month's rent and owes them nearly $50,000. The property tried to evict her multiple times, but there was a fire, which I confirmed with DC Fire and EMS started in her unit while she was there. Avanoma is the one showing that you were in the process of being evicted.
What did I say? I hadn't even watched this one yet. What did I say when she was talking about a fire in that apartment building? I said I would not be surprised. Look at me not being shocked. It started in her apartment while she was home, as an eviction process was happening, and she owes them $50,000. Not shocked.
For paying 1 month's rent when you were there for 13.
So no, that would not be accurate.
Again, court documents show Romero filed a motion to delay the eviction, this time citing the fire and saying insurance needed to see the damage in the unit. She booked the Airbnb as she was getting evicted from that property. I found multiple tenant and landlord cases against her in and around D.C. when she went by a different name at the time. In addition to that, I saw at least a dozen liens against her, as well as a case claiming that she paid for a down payment for a vehicle and made no other payments after that. Now, since these discoveries, Romero has said that she is not speaking to us anymore. For now, reporting from the D.C. Bureau,
Felicia,
7 News.
Felicia with the investigative journalism coming in. Clutch, Felicia. I told you at the beginning of this, Felicia's doing really good work over there at Channel 7, ABC 7 in DC. Not only is she stealing cars by making a down payment and not paying for them, 3 different apartments she lived in for almost a year at a time, one of them more than a year at a time. So for the past 3 years, she hasn't paid rent except for a month here and there, and she didn't pay for her car. And she's collecting money as the owner of a nonprofit. Also, she's going on vacations abroad. She's doing this luxurious travel that I can't afford to do, and I'm sure you probably can't afford to do it either. Oh, this pisses me off. This is right after the court, by the way, and this is the homeowner. So we want to hear how she's reacting to the court case. Now, somebody asked me earlier in the chat if there's a conclusion to this story. This is it. This happened on December 11th. This was the court case, and we're about to find out.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I'm thankful that this outcome was like this for me, because I had that order that she signed, but it makes me very upset because if I didn't have the order, it seems like she would have been able to stay there and do this for months and months and however much longer. And other people who don't have the benefit of having such agreement, I can't imagine what they're going to go through in a situation like this. So I'm thankful for me, but I still think that something needs to be done.
What was it like for you to sit in that courtroom? She had a moment to question you. There were documents presented. There was a question of whether a payment she entered was fraudulent because there was no proof of it from the bank. What were your thoughts of just being in the courtroom with her? That was the first time you guys had seen each other face to face in a bit.
It was infuriating because I know I hadn't received a payment from her. This whole thing is coming about because she was not making the $100 a night payment, and for her to come up with a fake document that I confirmed. The judge gave us time to confirm that the document was not real, that Zelle had no payment history of this, and there was a fraudulent confirmation number on this document. So it's infuriating, and I think that something needs to be done, because to present that in court after all of this as some kind of Hail Mary, I'm just glad the judge was able to see through it, and I was able to prove that this was not true.
The judge said you can evict her.
What did I tell you guys? That the presenting proof of payment is not a receipt. You have to show through your bank records that the money has come out of your account, and not only that, gone to the correct account of the landlord. So there's 2 steps to this process. When somebody tells me that they've paid their rent and I have no record of their rent being paid, they need to send me documentation from their bank showing their banking record, showing the money being taken out of their account. And in addition to that, they have to show what account it was deposited into, and it has to be our account. Because if you pay the exact amount to somebody else, that's not proof of payment to the landlord. So thank goodness that the judge obviously has seen this sort of stuff before and did see right through it.
Said you can evict her right now. What are your plans? What are you about to do?
Evict her. She has to go. I need her out of the property so that I can try to regain the property and get back to my life. I was writing a book, working on a memoir, trying to do women's help organizations and things, and this has totally disrupted my life. So I would like to get back to the things that I could do to help the community, and I think God placed this on me too so that I can help in this area too. So I just want to get back to life.
You mentioned the community. Since our reporting, we've seen a huge amount of support, those that can relate to you, even those who need support in the housing system and their sentiments. What was it like for you to see the reaction to your story here in DC?
I'm so thankful for the support and that we brought this to light. I still am going to work hard and put a change.org document together for more homeowners that are going through this and try to really impact change with this. Like I said, I'm thankful for the outcome. I'm thankful for the court seeing it my way, but I know there are so many others that are struggling with this, and I'm not going to give up yet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I see you soon.
Amazing. So what happened that same day? I believe it was the same day or the next day after that court appearance. I'll tell you what happened. The community has seen this story on Channel 7 in DC, and they came together. Normally, when you evict somebody, it costs the landlord money because you have to hire people. The sheriffs go there, and they have a certain amount of time that they will stay there. The sheriff's department has to be there the entire time during the eviction. And if you just have one or two people to move stuff, the sheriff is going to say, nope, can't do it today. It's going to take too long. You have to have, they'll look at the square footage and how much stuff is in the place. And as you can tell, I've done quite a few evictions in my line of work. The sheriff will look at the amount of stuff that's in the space and say, you need to have 12 people here in order to get this done in the time that we have to sit here. And if you don't have those 12 people on hand, the sheriff's going to reschedule you until you can get the people, right? So the community came together. The neighbors in the neighborhood came together and helped this woman out. Let's watch.
News getting results in the case between the DC homeowner and the woman who was squatting in her home. Thanks for joining us tonight. You're seeing it right there. I'm Scott Thuman.
And I'm Michelle Marsh. Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley has been exclusively reporting on this story for more than a week now. Today, a judge ruling in favor of the homeowner who says an Airbnb guest was trying to take her home.
Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley joining us now from that house where the judge says the squatter cannot stay anymore, has to get out. Felicia?
That's right, and this is actually one of the first times the homeowners have been back to the home in a couple of months. And as you mentioned, the judge ordered that the alleged squatter is not a tenant, therefore she has no tenant rights, and the homeowners were allowed to get her out of the home and evict her immediately. And that is what you are seeing. We have community members that actually came here to support the homeowners and help clear out the home after watching the reports and hearing what the homeowners were dealing with. And even inside the home, you can see some of the area that they have.
I'll tell you what, if this was happening in my neighborhood or my area and I saw this on the news, I would get my work gloves out. I would volunteer my husband, we're going over there and we're going to help this woman. She needs help. We're going to be there to help her. So I'm so glad to see the community coming together to help this woman out.
And even inside the home, you can see some of the area that they have started clearing as well. The homeowner mentioned to me that she has been in shock and everything that was with everything that was inside of this home, as well as some of the damage that she found as well. Before court, I spoke to DC homeowner Rashane Douglas. What have your dynamics been like with Ms. Romero since the last time we spoke?
We've had no contact directly since that time. Obviously, she had the van towed. She also denied the electrician to get in and came down here and filed a contempt that we didn't comply with the agreement.
I tried to check in with accused squatter Shadija Romero when she showed up to court. Ms. Romero, would you like to speak with us before the hearing?
I told you that I don't want to speak to you, so please leave me alone.
You don't want to say anything before the hearing? Filming is not allowed inside the DC courthouse, but I was inside the nearly 2-hour hearing. The judge upheld this agreement that I previously reported on. The homeowners had Romero sign it in October, but she didn't follow through. The homeowners agreed to pay her to leave their property. And in black and white, Romero confirmed she was a short-term Airbnb guest, not a tenant, that there is no lease, no tenancy, and that she has no tenant rights. The judge said you can evict her right now. What are your plans? What are you about to do?
Evict her. She has to go. I need her out of the property so that I can try to regain the property and get back to my life.
And that is what you're seeing happening right now. That is what the homeowners got right to after that order was filed. You can see some of the home, or actually most of the home, is rather clear now. Now, coming up at 6, I'm going to share more details about what happened in the courtroom also about how this has impacted the homeowners long term. Now, because of the missed payments, their mortgage raised from $4,000 a month to nearly $10,000 a month because of what they endured during this process. And more was revealed about Romero inside the courtroom. For now, reporting live from Northeast DC, Felicia Ashley, 7 News.
All right, Felicia, thank you. And this story has been getting a lot of attention. People are invested in the story. We're seeing strong reaction from folks here in the DMV. Take a look, just a handful of the comments. We've had hundreds on YouTube, in our YouTube page. We've gotten on this continuing coverage, people expressing concern over why the woman was able to stay so long, as well as support for the homeowner. One viewer writing, quote, "I have never been so happy for a stranger in my life. She is finally going to get her property back." So we want to hear from you. Do you think DC should change its housing laws to prevent squatting? Scan the QR code on your screen to vote right now. The answer right now, very overwhelming, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And
So that's it. That's the story. While researching this case, came across something else, and I'm going to put a poll in the chat right now before I so by the way, the poll in the chat right now was, do you think she left on her own? And 94% of you were correct. She did not leave on her own. She did have to be evicted, and I see all of you in the chat saying that you would have been there to help as well. Same. Should I do a deep dive on this one? Question mark. Don't answer yet. Wait till I play the thing. I'm putting the poll in the chat. Don't answer yet. Okay, so while I was researching the Shadija case that we just went over, I came across this story, and I haven't looked into it yet. I just saw this one couple minute long news story about it, but I found it interesting, and I want to know if you all find it interesting as well. Let's take a look, and maybe we'll do this next week. I do have a little bit of time next week, so possibly we can take a look at this case next week, depending on how you guys. I told you not to answer yet. You guys are already answering. 10 people have already answered. All right, let's watch it, and then the rest of you can answer. Don't forget, there is the Venmo and the PayPal, and we are still having drinks until the end of the show. Let's see.
Remember the video that we showed you right here. Confrontation between a DC landlord and a bat-wielding tenant. Tonight, the I-Team's John Barr has more on this situation and how it's becoming all too common in the district.
Tenants not paying rent, denying access to the property, and then landlords left at their wits' end. And John is here live in the studio now with more on this, Sean.
Yeah, we first told you about this dispute between the tenant and landlord back in September. Spoiler alert, it's still going on. This one case, according to landlord Jeffrey Levine, has involved 14 different city agencies, more than 70 court appearances, more than 20 calls to police, more than 100 building code violations. All of that for one 225 square foot apartment on Capitol Hill and a tenant who won't pay rent and will not leave.
Sound familiar? Sounds familiar, like we just talked about for 2 hours.
This row home in Capitol Hill sits on a relatively quiet street.
Back up!
But inside, the dispute over the basement apartment is anything but peaceful.
You just hit my wife. You do that again?
Back up!
One tenant blocked 93 inspections.
You're not letting me in for the inspection?
One tenant kept inspectors waiting as long as 6 hours.
Get the out!
I have not been able to renovate or sell my building. I am basically stuck.
That was owner Jeffrey Levine earlier this month, pleading his case to D.C. council members, explaining how Michelle Watley, the only tenant in a 7-unit building, not only hasn't paid rent since July 2023, but continues to report violations to city inspectors.
Oh, well, come within arm's length. Let's defend ourselves.
Only to then deny them and Levine access to the apartment to make repairs.
I was there with Roto-Rooter to fix the toilet that she clogged.
Miss Watley, I'm here with the plumber. This is the third and final attempt. Are you letting me in or are you not?
Legal Fiction, $20 super chat. And we have a full one again. Cheers. I cannot promise you that tomorrow will be full. Again, I cannot do this 2 days in a row, but we will be drinking tomorrow night as well. So I appreciate all of you. Legal Fiction, cheers. And we'll pass out some milk bones as well. Wake up. Legal Fiction sent you milk bones. Wake up, ladies. There you go. It looks like they're holding hands. Do you guys see that? Ava and Zena are holding paws right now in solidarity with these landlords. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, Legal Fiction.
Gonna let me in.
She was in the building, in the unit, and would not let the Roto-Rooter guy in.
Who is the plumber?
Excuse me? Who's the plumber? He's a plumber from Roto-Rooter.
By my calculation, I have over 200 denial of entries. However, I have 93 that I obtained through FOIA that she actually emailed the district, you cannot come in, the Department of Buildings. And guess what? They didn't go in.
A Department of Buildings spokesperson tells 7 News DOB can confirm that on multiple occasions, inspectors failed to gain access to 105 6th Street Northeast after an inspection was scheduled. DOB didn't give us a specific number of times that happened, but says agency records point to a range of between 10 and 70.
Good morning, Chairperson Mendelson, fellow council members and staff.
We wanted to ask Keith Parsons, the Strategic Enforcement Administrator for the Department of Buildings, why inspectors would tolerate being denied access so often. Parsons wouldn't talk to us, but he explained it this way to the D.C. Council.
If someone does not let us in, then we can't go in.
I don't think this is satisfactory that the tenant could deny you access. And that's the end of it. There's got to be a solution.
The Department of Buildings tells 7 News overall there are currently 42 open violations at Levine's building, totaling more than $40,000 in fines.
Ms. Watley,
Levine says he
So
can't.
basically, she's calling in these complaints and then not letting the landlord fix the things or let the inspectors in to see if whatever she's complaining about is even an issue. And Yo Mama is correct. Church tomorrow at midnight, so I can't get wasted before church tomorrow. Sorry. I
Fix
can
those
have a little
violations.
bit. We're Catholic, we can have a little bit to drink, but not like tonight. Definitely not.
Unless Watley opens the door.
It's the playbook. It's the playbook to delay paying rent or to avoid paying rent.
Rich Bianco has been a real estate attorney in the district for 25 years.
In order to get a business license, you need to have an inspection by the Department of Buildings. So by denying the Department of Buildings access to do a business licensing inspection, tenants can effectively delay landlord's ability to get into court.
Bianco says there may be a way out for Levine. The courts, he explains, can give an exception to landlords who are unable to gain access to their properties because of an uncooperative tenant.
And the exception is not perfect, but it is a lifeline for folks that find themselves in the situation that this particular housing provider finds himself in.
Remember, the last time we saw Michelle Watley was in this video confrontation with Levine and his wife. A judge found Watley was the aggressor during this heated argument in a common hallway where Levine, as the landlord, had every right to be. In her most recent lawsuit, Watley alleged Levine has systematically failed to maintain the property and make necessary repairs, adding, "This sustained negligence appears to be a deliberate strategy to force plaintiff to vacate." Levine, meantime, says Watley has cost him millions in losses, not to mention more than 2 years of unpaid rent.
I don't know why DC is not doing anything about it, and I don't know how this ends. But if I'm on the right side of the ground, which I am now, I won't stop, because what's happened to me could happen to anybody in DC.
Now, the Department of Buildings says If inspectors are repeatedly denied entry, it could use what's called an administrative search warrant to gain entry. But a spokesperson tells me those warrants only apply when conditions are considered dangerous, and that does not appear to be the case here. As for Ms. Whatley, she finally agreed to an interview last week and then backed out at the last minute. We'll keep asking. We'll also keep an eye on this case. For the IT.
Maybe by next week we'll have an interview with her like we did for this one. So 100% of you said that I should look deeper into that one. Yeah, for sure. When I saw her chasing the landlord and his wife down the hall with a baseball bat, I'm like, what? What is happening here? So yeah, we'll take a look into that next week. I wonder, should I wait until there's a conclusion to it? Well, we can always do a follow-up, right? Brain's not working. We can cover it next week and then do a follow-up to it if there is a conclusion. Hopefully there's a conclusion in the landlord's favor. That would be good, just like the case that we just looked at. What did you guys think of tonight's show? Should I do these one-off kind of episodes more often? We'll see. For right now, I am planning to do one next week, and possibly, I'm not sure of my schedule this week, but maybe a movie day again on Friday. We'll see. Definitely hit the bell notification, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, please. Please do that. I was hoping to get to a nice round number before the end of the year. That has not happened, but you gotta aim for the moon, or you gotta aim for the stars, and then possibly you hit the moon. Isn't that the way the saying goes? Aim for perfection, and that's how you achieve greatness. Something like that. I think Lambeau said that. I've been watching football documentaries again. I'm quoting sports people. Let me see where we're at. Yeah, I was hoping to get to 7,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are at 6,812. So if you know anybody who you think would appreciate this sort of content, please send them my channel. Ask them to check out a stream. If they like it, maybe they'll subscribe too. That's it. That's the show. I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time for the super mega holiday Christmas stream. Now, it does show that I'm streaming for 10 hours tomorrow or 12 hours tomorrow. That is not the case. Myself and a bunch of other creators, including Doc, who's in the chat, I believe, he's the one organizing it. We are tag teaming, so we will entertain you all day on Christmas Eve from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I will be there from 10 a.m. till 12, and then again from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., or as long as Kafer and I chat. I do have for tomorrow night's Booze and Body Cams a Christmas episode. Every single video tomorrow will have something to do with Christmas. We will see you then. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your support of the channel, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Bye, guys. Hold on, I'm on the wrong. Hold on. I do that every time. Every single time I do that. Let's see if I can figure out.
Just lie? You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man, Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Won't you solo go show off your photos, throw out your Twinkies, throw up your ho-hos, tuck in them pinkies, them shits a no-no. The first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Brought to my attention by the man with the mojo. My 8 subscriber, I'm a fagoso. Jump in them sinkies and dump them mimosos. The first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto.